an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering the Hunger Games, the fourth movie, Mockingjay Part 2. In this movie, we get to see the way that the pods are set up in the Capitol. We get to see PETA flipping the fuck out again. There's a lot of stuff going on. I really didn't like this one. Sorry.
Me either!
Welcome to Unspoiled.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where a dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you?
I was so nervous.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I am relieved.
That joke never fails to get me. Miles did that the other day. He was like, I am pissed. And I just cackled.
Yeah, you guys, I didn't really care for this. And I was so fucking disappointed because 2 and 3 were on an upward trajectory. So I was kind of like, all right, well, they've improved. I can't believe they split this little book into these 2 long ass movies and then rushed through everything.
It is weird, right? How they're like simultaneously not giving things time and drawing it out. It's like how
I just don't fucking get it. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt your intro like that, but like we had literally not discussed it off mic, like what our feelings were. So I was so shocked to hear you say that.
Yeah. This was just one of those things where I felt all of a sudden like the arguments that I had been making about how the people who made this movie didn't get it all crystallized in this film in a way that was at once validating, but also infuriating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to start here? What's your number one gripe that you want to bring up right off the bat?
Well, I mean, it's weird because like some of the gripe is just overall tone. Pacing was really, really uneven. I could not figure out what story they were trying to tell me in this last installment. And they skipped over so much of Katniss's, I hate to call it development because we're so far into the story, but it is like how she goes from who she is at the beginning of this to who she is at the end when she's able to pull that arrow and aim at Coin. That's not something that happens to a person overnight. And they rushed through so much. They made really weird choices about like in the movie, she just sneaks into the Capitol raid.
Yeah.
And we don't get any of how hard she fucking worked her ass off with Joanna to try to train to be part of this mission. Like that is completely done away with. We have her kill Coin and then be on a train back to 12 with like in a matter of hours. Mm-hmm. She goes back to 12 and we don't get any of how devastated she was. Now, I'm sure people were like, well, we wouldn't want to see that. But sometimes you got to see shit, even if it's air quotes boring. You got to see it. We don't get any of that. Man. they just made some choices, y'all. They made some choices.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start in a particular place because of the you guys, I have denounced the movies a few times, but there were points where I was like, all right, look, I didn't finish. Maybe they pull it together in the series. And it really feels like for me, the last movie underscores and puts an exclamation point after what I thought they were doing the whole time. Because the thing that we were talking about with how it has been boiled down to be her versus Snow, it comes to a real head in this movie. It is so irksome when the point of the books is about the way that like hypercapitalism has worked, the way that oppression works, and they make it just like her and this guy who have a beef and how he, as long as we get him out, will be fine. And they don't develop anything with her issue with Coin until Prim. So it feels very much like I'm killing you because I found out you killed Prim, which is so shallow a motivation. It doesn't like, even including her saying maybe we should do another Hunger Games, it feels rushed because you didn't set up a lot of the issue with Coin earlier.
Yep.
And so it's all shoved into this movie in these weird moments. Like, all of a sudden we get Plutarch being like, oh, you staged that attempted assassination almost as well as I would. And I was just like, what? We're just going to have this scene and like no other sort of feeling of a threat coming from her, so that Katniss is totally blindsided when she has the conversation with Boggs instead of kind of understanding what he is attempting to tell her off the bat. Like, and the focus on it being her and Snow, it is further robbing her of what was amazing about her in the books, which is she is not special. She wound up in a position that she didn't want to be in, that she isn't even that good at unless put into like dire circumstances. And she just had to pull it out because everything was riding on it. And it was just the most pressure you could ever feel. But the movie makes it that like, no, she is special. Again, we have her showing up at 2 and everybody doing the 3 fingers thing and just silent and reverent in this moment. That was just nonsense. The whole thing in the books is that they treat her like anybody else, except for when she wants something, God forbid. But like, the way that they handle her in and amongst folks, she is a symbol to them, but she's not being like brought through on a fucking litter to wave at the masses. And it has this feel to it when she shows up and everybody just stills and is so somber and does this gesture.
There's just
get the fuck out of here.
This reverence to her that is a little bit like, doesn't feel true to the books. And I guess maybe trying to like use a shortcut, so like okay, she's a symbol, but we have to like make her a symbol but like make it bigger.
Yeah
Like it's not enough to just say she is. We have to see people practically ready to drop to their knees whenever they're in her presence, which is not really the point of her.
And to have Snow make the choice that he makes in 8, where it's like, I'm going to bomb this hospital, not because of just the fact that I don't care about human life and this is what happens in war, but because I'm trying to get her specifically. It boils things down with him to him being just this like cartoonish villain who isn't representative of like an overall system. It's just him in particular that is the bad apple, and everybody around him doesn't really approve but is powerless to stop him, instead of it being the whole system is rotten and the people who are party to it are as willing to commit the atrocities as he is, because they also don't see them as human beings. That's the point.
The best we get is them at that round table where he poisons the guy in front of everybody. Also, I have been complaining about the lack of reference to the bloody handkerchiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And then for some reason we get them in this movie only.
Yeah.
But all it does is make him seem old and sick suddenly.
Yeah. Yep.
Like now he's not, like now it's almost like he's not even a threat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a weird, like, why are we including this at the last minute?
Yeah, we just had to like include that he was on his way to death because we know that you guys want to see him dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gotta like make sure you're aware that's what's happening here. But also we didn't want to do the poison thing earlier because we wanted him to be like a threatening grandpa. I guess. Just
some very strange, again, there was, they made so many weird, changes, with, like I said, cutting out her, the time between when Peter strangles her.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's like fit again,
yeah,
is like overnight.
Mm-hmm.
They also they took out a lot of the time spent with Peter doing, like trying to become himself again.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they used Prim, and I think maybe he'd even told me that at one point. But they used Prim instead of what's her name? Delia?
Deli, yeah. Deli Cartwright, I think is her name.
There was a couple of other just like weird things they did, and I was just like, why is this?
And this is, like using Prim, I understand the idea behind just, again, keeping like the number of cast members that like lower. It's I always refer to this as a Game of Thrones move, but
yeah,
they have to lampshade it with like Haymitch saying she's too close. And I'm like, did you just need him to say that so that all of us who are looking at this like in horror can feel like, well, you at least know what you're doing? It felt like they were trying to be like, shh, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of anything even reminds him of Katniss, it sends him into, histrionics, and they send in somehow her little sister, and it doesn't do anything until he starts to freak out later on, and oh, you sent her, she, you're here because she sent you here. They also, for some reason, took out, and I guess this is because we need our heroine to be likable at all times and almost innocent. So they have them break into an empty apartment. Mm-hmm. Which is like, you just as a fundamental misunderstanding of what is happening in this story, if you think you can just take that out and it doesn't change everything,
Yep. Yeah, they absolutely kept her hands spotless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very frustrating. It's so tiresome in general how much the adaptations of things feel the need to soften certain characters, because there are times where you need the softening because something happens internally that it's difficult to put on screen, but that's not usually what's going on. It's almost always, we need you to like this person, and we don't trust that you will be able to like accept what they are doing here, which is just so insulting to your audience that we're not going to get the necessity of her killing the person whose apartment they stole. Like, of course we get why they're doing this. Like, but they can't do it. Ugh. Just so fucking annoyed, guys. I really am.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised at how much I did not like feel this one at all. I was really bummed out about it because they're so like they leaned into the action of the pods, but somehow they made that somehow not as impactful. And I don't know how they managed to pull that off. Like when they do this, everything is so like, I can't believe how much was rushed and pushed together when they had 2 fucking whole movies to flesh out this one book. Like, they have them going into the Capitol. We go to Tigris. We don't spend any time there at all.
No.
Then for reasons, only her and Gale go out into the mob to make their way to the mansion. Mm-hmm. And Peeta and the rest of the team stay behind at the shop.
They do split off, her and Gale, in the book, but I can't recall how that goes.
Well, Peeta goes out into the crowd with them. Everybody leaves Tigris's apartment, I think, or her shop rather.
Yeah, but they split apart eventually.
But they split apart. But in the movie, the only people to leave the shop are Katniss and Gale. Peeta stays. Like in the book, he is willing to go to be a distraction, and they let him like loose in the crowd, and she loses sight of him. She loses, Gale gets captured, and they have that moment. It's a little bit different in the movie than it is in the book. But basically he does end up getting hauled off, and she doesn't shoot him. When they're underground, the thing with the leagues is very different. I don't know. Like,
leagues?
The sisters, like in the movie, in the book, in the book, one dies and then the other one dies a little bit later. But here they both stay. The one gets hurt, the other sister stays behind, and then the peacekeepers come and shoot the missile like right into the building, and the whole fucking thing collapses. And that's when they think everybody is dead, but it's just the 2 sisters. There were some things that I did like, that I did enjoy, even though they were like terrible. I liked pretty much everything with Finnick. Finnick's role stayed really true to the book, in my opinion.
Agree.
And even though it was horrible, his death was horrible. Like the whole scene with the mutts in the sewers was sufficiently terrifying, and action packed.
I can't agree on that either.
I will say what they do in the movie is they have each of them being like doing like impossible shit, like taking on 8 or 9 at a time, and somehow surviving. But you could tell they really wanted to like get to that part. Like this was, they were all very excited about doing this.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time, and obviously, this was like a big deal for them. But it was a little like we have Katniss like down there taking out, a half a dozen to 10 of them. Finnick takes out like 8 or 9. Peeta, is down there. Gale.
Like the whole thing with the mutts, it was like, first of all, the fact that they aren't lizard things, I get it. Doing it as people, I would assume would be easier if you had it be people, but you had it be CGI. Why did you make these creatures entirely CGI, guys? You couldn't do some people in makeup if you were going to have them be humanoid anyway? Mm-hmm. Why do that if they looked so distractingly fake that I didn't feel any threat from them at all. It was an instantaneous take me out of the scene, that is not real. This is a video game now kind of moment for me. I felt no tension at all because it was just so fake. So even when he's like, Finnick dies, I was just like, ugh. I did not like, you just see like the swarming CGI bodies on each other. And I was just like, oh man. Okay. It felt like you're right. Like they could not wait to get to this particular point. Mm-hmm. But then they get there and they just fumble it and did something so rote and uninspired, Yeah. Even the thing with Peeta and how he's saying Katniss and like in sync with these mutts, they have him saying Katniss in his sleep. and then waking up and being like, we got to get out of here. There's no sense of a threat from PETA in that moment either.
Oh,
which
yeah.
adds so much to the tension in the scene.
I forgot all about the part that PETA plays in this moment until after the scene was over. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Fully.
Mm-hmm. Brienne of Tarth makes an appearance. I can't remember if we saw her before, but it was, it was good to see her.
I think this is the first time we see her. She's trying to do some kind of an Americanish accent. It's funny. At least she tried.
Oh.
The other pod thing with the weird black gel.
Yeah.
So I thought the effect of when it catches up to somebody was like scary and effective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
the way it strung that guy up in the air, I was like,
exactly.
I was like, that's okay. But
the water itself, the liquid, looks really, really fake. And it's also not portrayed as a gel. It's splashing like water. And they are a foot away. And nobody gets splashed with it. Then why just not make it a gel? Make it the weird texture of the thing. So that explains, in world, why everybody seems magically untouched by it. How about that?
Nope.
No. We got to make it look like fucking inks, and then pretend that physics aren't real. Okay, sure. And again, it doesn't, because it's all CGI, I don't feel anything about it because it doesn't feel like a real threat.
Yeah, I don't have a great eye for that kind of stuff, but there were a couple of moments where I was just like, oh, this is underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And like couldn't put my finger on exactly like what it was or why it was.
You'd really think at this point in the proceedings that their budget would be adequate, that they could do better than they've been doing. I don't know,
Yeah, it just, when Boggs is killed, that is very, very emotional. Mm-hmm. In the book, at least for me, it was very emotional. And, I get that there's like no time to grieve, like they have to run for their lives because the black ink is coming. I don't know, man. It just most of this did not land for me. Yeah. Even some of the scenes with like that are heavy hitters, like our scenes with Haymitch, just feel kind of like he's not even in this movie, really. It's weird. Like when they're at District 2, after they do the avalanche on the nut and people start coming out of the little train tunnel. Right. And he goes over to her and like gives her like a little bit of a pep talk. Tries to give her notes from Plutarch. She's like, yeah, I'm not reading those. And he like gives her a pat on the back. And I don't know. I can't. It just, I don't, how people say, oh, it just feels like everybody just kind of like phoned it in. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Like, I don't know if everybody was just kind of tired of this story by the time we got here or what the fuck, but it just did not feel like these people, the stakes never really feel high or real. I don't know, man. It just is just wild to me how different it was from part one, and like just a very different viewing experience. Even moments that I was really looking forward to, and they cut a lot of them, which bummed me out. But like you guys know, I love Joanna, and the scenes I was really looking forward to them when they have their kind of bonding time when they're trying to train to go on the mission. Yeah. And they just completely gut that out completely, and instead have Joanna tell Katniss about the medical supply drop that's going to happen and that she can sneak in there. And It was a good moment. Joanna does this face when Katniss starts talking about how she wants to kill Snow. She does she looks like the Grinch with the smile that just spreads all the way up to her ears. Yeah. And I just don't know, like when she comes into the room after the strangulation, she comes to steal the morphling. I just don't know why you wouldn't want to have them two or those two on screen more together.
Agreed.
You know, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I just,
Yup. Yuppers.
I don't even know.
That's just like how I feel about the whole movie is they just made the only choice that I liked that was way different from the book is once again Effie Trinket and her continued involvement in things.
Listen, how did she get that pink dress for the wedding? I had so many questions. I was like, how did she pull that off? I was happy about it, don't get me wrong. But I was like, Effie girl, how? Yeah,
there was definitely a point in this where it felt like they just decided to let her continue to be the weirdo with no internal logic to it at all. And honestly, considering she's like the one bright spot for me in a lot of this, I'm fine with it. Go ahead, I guess.
I was not mad about it, but the only thing I was mad about is that it wasn't addressed. I wanted her to have because I feel like if anybody had bothered to ask her, she would have been she would have happily explained.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like I feel like Effie figured out a way to get what she needed. I don't know what she bartered and who she bartered with, but she knew she had a wedding coming up and she knew she had to serve and it was going to happen regardless. And I feel like 2 minutes would have been great, you know, like for somebody to be like, oh my God, Effie, I love your dress. And she could say, thanks. It only cost me, you know, two meal tickets or whatever the fuck she had to trade for it. This scene with fucking Coin at this dinner table where he poisons his minister. This round table of evil. It's like something out of The Simpsons, you know. You know, where they like where there's like a Simpsons episode. It's fucking. My God, it's like I think it's a McBain movie within the show. And the guys are like, gentlemen, a toast to evil. And that is all I could think of when I was watching.
That's about it. It's so over the top. It's so I don't understand. I do understand. I lie. The need to make Snow what he is in this movie. I do get it. But it's the wrong call and it's really frustrating to watch because every time I sort of let myself forget that they were doing that, they would hammer it home with some goofy shit. I will never get over his granddaughter taking the braid out of her hair. Like that particular one is always going to be just the shorthand for me describing shit being way too heavy-handed and like we get it. Oh my God. But this table scene, like it's drawn out. Also, the pacing is so slow. And either whomst among us watching this scene did not know somebody at that table was about to be poisoned.
I mean,
there's no tension because, of course, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I almost thought he would poison everybody. Like it was just one guy. Whatever. Then
I thought it was going to be the whole table too.
See.
Because in my mind, he will absolutely poison everybody just because he wants to poison one. And like, you know, to avoid suspicion, everybody's got to go.
Yep.
But instead, he poisons. Also, him poisoning people is supposed to be a secret.
Exactly.
And he just, in front of God and everybody, this guy dies at the dinner table. Like
he's just like, look, I guess that my spot's been blown up by that op-ed that fucking Finnick did. So
No,
Cat's out of the bag. Oh, God.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, so I mean, bright spots, bright spots, bright spots.
Oh, boy.
I'm trying. I mean, I know that they're there. I know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
You think of one.
Sort of like scrolling through things. I'll say Peta's performance as an addled, hijacked boy, I thought was pretty convincing. I, for the most part, like enjoyed when he was on screen, and he felt like a bit of a bright spot, not like story wise, but in terms of the performance, feeling like, okay, here's somebody who's serious about where we are and what we're doing. I will mention that Philip Seymour Hoffman died in the filming of this movie. Like, they were still in the middle of it when he passed away, and that's why he's sort of like only in the beginning and then disappears, and we just get a letter from him that Haymitch reads out loud.
That's what that I was trying to be. I was like, a letter. What? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But and I think we had talked. I think I had even mentioned before that I thought I had read that he died when he was making this, but we weren't sure, and I couldn't Google it at the time for spoilers. But this does he? I can't remember if he actually says in the book that she did exactly what he knew she would do.
I don't think he does.
I don't think.
I'm glad you said that, because I was like, that's not there, right? So it was like, oh, I was in on you taking down coin from the story. Like, Kat, why do we need that? Let Plutarch be a kind of bad guy too. He's a game maker. It's fine, guys.
Yep. There's just no, like, they really struggle with the gray areas, you know, and maybe that is a disservice or in service to the audience, like you said earlier, where they just don't give the audience enough credit, or maybe because it's geared to an air quotes young adult audience, they don't think that they're hip enough to get it. But it just felt really simplified and sort of diluted and I don't know, just like, again, the themes of these books, of this story, it's such a big story. Yeah, it's one like little girl that's in the middle of this very big thing that's happening. And it's like the camera, instead of zooming out so we could really absorb how big this story is, it like zoomed real tight in on Jennifer Lawrence's face and was like, this is the movie now. This is what we're doing now. Like, no shade to her, but like, and so, and because it does that, there's a few moments where the movie wants us to zoom back out and remember it's a bigger story, but it feels like when she finally confesses that she lied about having coined permission to kill Snow. And, you know, we have that big reveal scene and everybody is like, of course we knew you were lying. Like, they chose to follow you because, you know, because you're you. And I remember when I read that, it felt like it meant something. And when I was watching it, it didn't feel the same. It felt very much like, I don't know, just it felt like, oh, well, we're following you because you're clearly the main character. You know,
we've all recognized long ago that we're simply side supporting characters in your story. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're following you not because you are particularly special, but because we understand that this thing that we're doing is that it is so important, and we're willing to sacrifice for this greater good, or this bigger mission that we have, that we've dedicated our lives to and are willing to sacrifice our lives for. Also, because of the way they kind of shortchange Katniss in these movies, when Boggs decides to entrust the Hollow to her, and he says, because you've earned it. I mean,
are you going to say, has she though?
Right? I mean, like, not that she hasn't, but like, what has he seen? Like, where did that come from? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like it didn't really. I don't know, y'all.
Well, the problem with Boggs is that they had him they fucking like Walking Deaded him, where he's just very outskirts, and then we have one real intense scene where he opens up and talks to her, and then he's killed 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
and so the whole thing is just, it feels like, oh man, of course he's gonna die, because like in the book, his death is a very sudden, awful shock. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, him having very little dialogue and then suddenly having this big moment with her, I was like, if I were watching this movie for the first time, I would know this man's about to die. It's just the way they're doing this is so,
yeah.
You guys know that I don't like this kind of energy either. I wanted to like this, and it's so possible to do this well that it makes it even more irritating how wrong it all feels. Like, it's already written. Mm-hmm. The parts that are like, you don't have to think up what to do. And there's no reason to change some of this except you're cowards. And you don't want to indict capitalism. And you don't want to indict power systems. And you don't want to have a main character who isn't likable. And everybody is just sanded down and softened until they have no fucking shape left to them anymore.
Mm-hmm. And Suzanne Collins did the adaptation. So I'd be really curious, like how that went, cause it's not always the author who gets to do the movie. And, oh my God, we just got to the part at the wedding where they're dancing, and then for some reason they spin around in circles as she's hugging Prim, and I got really, really nauseous. It goes on forever. Like they're in this embrace, and they stop dancing, but the camera keeps spinning. I just don't. I mean, just let them hug. Fine. Like, just like, what are we doing?
We had to depict frolicking.
Right, like it feels very much like we need you to understand
my beauties.
Yes, it really, and it felt like, well, she's in a lot of emotional turmoil, and this might be the last goodbye, and this is a very intense moment, and her whole world is spinning out of control, so the camera's going to keep spinning and spinning and go faster and faster, and I'm just like, can we not? We don't have to do this. I understand that she's about to do something very dangerous. I get it. I don't.
Yeah.
And then her sneaking into this fucking hangar or this hovercraft with the meds.
I really want to know what the fuck this is about.
Like,
why would you do it this way? I don't get it. I genuinely don't get why you would set it up this way. And like you said, squander all of the amazing like camaraderie between her and Joanna.
Mm-hmm. Listen, when he tells her because you've earned it, I know he's talking about everything that she's been through, right? Not just her actions in 13. He's talking about like everything she's done in the games and everything she's been through. But like you rob us from how hard she fucking worked.
Yeah.
To be able to be there because she wanted to kill Snow that bad. She was willing to work her ass off to be a part of that squad. And they just, no, we're not going to have her work at all. We're just going to have her sneak. And then she sneaks in and gets there and it's fine. Right?
Right?
It's
exactly.
It's completely fine. And then we have Plutarch and Coin watching that she's there and Coin's all upset and Plutarch is like, they end up being like, well, we're just going to tell everybody this was our plan. That her being there was our plan. Like, it was your plan, but you told her she had to pass the like training in order to be there. Like, you could have just did that part. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Literally.
I said that already. I just keep sort of wanting to just yell again.
The only thing that happens when she shows up is Gail being like, I thought you were in the hospital. And she goes, she goes, I was. And then that's it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And back to Coin and Plutarch is that they see the reaction of the rebels to her because, they all do the salute. And that's going to be them deciding to let her stay because they see the impact that she has on people. I also have to mention, because as I'm watching the movie, they fucking give Coin this really severe bob when she becomes president because we have to know she's evil. So
oh man. Yep.
Oh.
I don't understand why there wasn't any brutality in District 13. I don't understand the purpose of just removing that entirely. Why would you? It's just when Katniss kills Coin, it feels like it is a completely personal issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it just cuts. It just takes like her legs right out from under her. The whole development of seeing who Coin is. Her suggesting another Hunger Games is the crescendo of the development of her as a villain.
Yep.
It's the moment that you're like, oh, that's who we're dealing with. And they don't include anything that pays that off. It feels like this bizarre, sudden thing that she's suggesting because otherwise
there
doesn't seem to be any,
The most menacing thing, the most sinister thing, the most, oh shit, maybe she's not what I thought she was, is that moment when she's talking to Plutarch about letting Katniss stay at the, in the Capitol and saying they're just going to take credit for everything that she does. So Bob.
And her admitting that like she set up the assassination attempt of Katniss at the nut.
Oh, right. Oh, I forgot all about that part.
But again, because nothing was set up in the previous movie, that feels like it comes out of way left field in this movie. Her just being like, yeah, I did try to set her up to kill her. What? Like, why would Plutarch have the suspicion about it to begin with if we didn't know any of the other stuff that we know?
It's very, I guess if I was trying to be generous, I would say the movie was trying really hard to keep sort of the shock of Coin's heel turn So they held on to it too long. So that when they start to reveal it, it just really does feel like, well, who is this person? This is like a body snatcher, like a pod person. This isn't the person. You know what I mean? This is an entirely different woman here. And because they removed all the context, like to your point about where's the brutality in 13, how regimented 13 is, how sort of severe it is down there, how they just dulled all the like rough edges down.
Yeah.
Like 13 had to be run so tight-fisted because of the way that they've survived is by being very efficient and not asking a lot of questions, and everybody knowing their role, everybody knowing their place and their function, and not a very free, open, creative society, right? These are people who have been conditioned to be rule followers because their entire survival depends on it.
Right.
And and that there are consequences when you don't adhere to the rules and the scheduling. And we have in the books, we have Katniss not following those rules, and there are consequences, where she is not taken seriously. She's not really respected. She's not considered a soldier because she hasn't been training. She hasn't been working, and there's just like all that is all absent, here.
Yeah. Again, because she has to seem like she is simply exceptional by default.
Yeah. And they when she fucking, I could not listen, I'm sorry, I got overexcited. When she kills, so they do this thing. Snow is like tied to a pole to face his execution.
Yes.
As opposed to being like on the balcony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very like high noon, kind of thing, right? Man, mano a mano, kind of like, like you said, the movie is about Snow and Katniss having this final showdown. But
yeah,
when she goes back to this room, and then, like I said earlier, a couple of hours pass, and then Haymitch is there telling her we're going to go home. And then she goes home, and we don't get any of how broken she was when she comes home. I don't remember how much time passed in the book, but it was a significant amount of time between, like, she shoots coin and there's like a trial that she wasn't even fucking at. You know what I mean?
Consequences.
Mm-hmm. There's none of that. And then she just goes home. And not only does I think we see her lying on the couch under a blanket looking mildly disheveled. and then Buttercup makes an appearance and she like yells at the cat, has her breakdown about Prim. And then the next day she is out hunting. Like she's good. Mm-hmm. And we know the timing of this is short because at one point she's watching TV and what's her name? Is it Paler is being sworn in?
Right.
And like there's no real significant amount of time has passed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then she's looking great. She's fit. She's out hunting. And then Peeta's there. And I don't know, y'all.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we rushed through so much shit when we had ample time to tell the story that, like you said, was already written. I
agree.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Not to be repeating, but like the choice to have them break into the apartment and not have somebody there that Katniss kills without even thinking about it. That's so important because Katniss ends up questioning herself later on about like what kind of person is she. Right. You know, the sort of, again, the gray areas. There's no gray. You know, we have our heroes and we have our villains, and you know who to root for. And then when they try to introduce some sort of complexity, like with what coin is operating on, that's a real, like, I know you hate when I say something is juicy, but this is like what Coin is talking about. And I remember when we were reading about her introducing the Hunger Games and when Katniss votes yes. And I had jokingly said that, like, as I was reading it, I was praying because it was so wild that she would vote yes. I was like, her and Haymitch have got to be having like a telepathic moment, right? They've got to be like, having one of those, like, I see you and you see me moments. And then they have them in the movie, like, look at each other with these long, knowing stares. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I asked for that. I can't even be mad because I fucking asked for that shit. Like, what a ridiculous thing. But about Coin, like, the idea that you could have somebody that is for your liberation, so they say, right? Mm-hmm. And then they get into power and they just recreate the wheel. They just do all the shit that was done before because they think that somehow when they do it, it's righteous. When the other person was doing it, it was evil. But when I do it, it's righteous. And the sort of like when we have Prim be killed, right? And it's the trap bomb, the sort of, you drop one bomb, then you lure people in, and then you hit them a second time. When that's first introduced and Katniss hears Gale and Beetee talking about it, and then seeing it happen in real time, and then the sort of moment where Katniss asks Gale, was it him, when he finally does come to see her, mm-hmm. and she's like, and he doesn't know if it's his or not. But like, there was something that could have been said about Coin being like, the new boss is the same as the old boss kind of thing, you know? Sure. And I don't know. It just really shied away from doing that heavy lifting. And it really does make it seem like Katniss, like you said, I think you said earlier, it felt like Katniss just was mad at Coin because she killed Prim, and that's all it was. Mm-hmm. Instead of this slow buildup of a realization that this woman who everybody has told me I should believe in, who on its face is on my side and I should be rooting for her, I can't let her take this power. I think the closest we get is Haymitch being like, oh, interim president. And exactly how long is that going to be for? Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's it. That's it. That and a new haircut are the only sign.
I don't know why I didn't notice the haircut thing, but yep, that's definitely what's happening there. Man. I'm trying to scroll through things because honestly, I don't feel like there's a lot to say about, I feel like everything that we have said is everything that I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I
You know
don't.
what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't like really want to pick apart like everything that they did wrong. Like I said, I was trying to think of some bright spots, some things that were like cool to see.
I'll
But
tell you one thing. It's
okay,
once again Effie, but the scene where Effie is getting Katniss ready to execute Snow, is it that scene? Hold on, I'm trying to see. There is a particular scene where Effie is wearing this outfit. I think it may be earlier than that, actually, where I paused it and stared because it was just the most spectacular. It was, in my opinion, like the best outfit in any of the movies.
oh, which one?
I'm trying to find it right now. I'm scrolling through. I thought it was when she's prepping Katniss in her Mockingjay outfit to go and execute Snow, but she's wearing something a lot more subdued in that scene. So I think it must be earlier, but it's this sort of conical top to the dress that like is open. It's like the cone is upside down on her body, and like it's like her head sticking out of an ice cream cone made of fabric.
Oh,
basically.
I cannot picture it.
I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry, guys. I will.
While you look for that,
I'll keep looking.
Yeah, while you look for that, I will say I was really excited to see Tigress on screen, and they did not do anything like what I was expecting, but it was really wild and over the top, and it was not like, I don't know how cat-like it was, except for like the stripes and stuff. Like I just had something so different pictured in my head. I appreciate it. It does seem like they tried to go for it, but they just went in a very different direction than I was expecting. I really was picturing somebody with like crazy plastic surgery cheeks that, you know how, like,
exactly,
you know what I mean? And then, that, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like a fucking cat face. We know what that looks like.
I fully expected that kind of plastic surgery look, and they gave us instead a woman in Halloween makeup.
Yep. You know who Lisa Rinna is?
No.
Well, she's a celebrity that's has got like crazy plastic surgery. There's also that.
Oh, is she because I know that there is somebody that got like cat features.
That's the second person. Now that's who they really should have modeled it after, is the person who really did do the cat thing to their face. Lisa Rinna is just unfortunate plastic surgery, like decades upon decades, that she just doesn't. She just looks wild now. But then there's the person who did like cheek implants and just did their whole face in a very strange way. And I was really looking forward to seeing what this was going to look like on screen. And she showed up, and I was like, "Oh, this is a very interesting look. It's not at all what I thought they were going to do." But I mean, Halloween makeup, yes. I mean, they gave her some whiskers.
I guess.
But
again, I just feel like the point of the people in the Capitol is that they look freakish, and these people don't know what that means.
Yeah. When they have the mob of refugees making their way towards the presidential mansion, and you really get to see all the people of the Capitol, and all I could think is, this is like a Tuesday on the L.
Yep.
It's not like, these are just very, very regular looking people. Very, very regular. I don't
know if I missed the moment where a man passes by just with an overripe banana, but I was looking for that and I didn't see it.
Oh my God. I didn't see it either. I did think to myself, oh, these people aren't carrying all the weird, strange things that are mentioned. But I did forget about the banana being one of those things. They did the thing with the little girl in the yellow jacket, but they also had like multiple people in yellow jackets.
Did they have the little girl once she died in the yellow jacket?
No.
Because that was the point. She sees her and then later sees the bloodstained yellow jacket.
They have the mom die and she sees the kid crying over the mom, but then they don't really go back to it unless
they don't kill the kid, which is definitely what happens in the book.
Not unless I completely missed it.
They just pulled every punch, man.
Yeah. You know what, you guys, this is going to sound like I'm being really shady, and I kind of am. It got so bad, the changes they were making and the way they were softening it, that for like a split second, I was like, I bet Prim don't even die.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. I like the fact that they set it up to feel a lot more like that's why Katniss is killing Coin. I'm not trying to say that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It's played a major part.
Yeah.
But it feels like, again, the culmination of her unease with Coin that she has had for a long time. And they can't not sacrifice Prim and have her do the drastic thing. But, oh boy, you know?
I will say they have the moment with Peeta and Gale while she's supposed to be sleeping and she can hear them. And that was pretty much right out of the book. Mm-hmm. So that was a good moment. I thought, I was like, okay, that's a nice quiet moment that they kept pretty true. I'm
sending you a screenshot of the top half of her dress.
Oh, you found it?
Oh, here's a full shot. Oh, God, it's so beautiful. I love it so much. You see it?
Oh, yeah. What scene is this?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm seeing her walking across snow with Katniss, and I don't know.
Oh, this is when she's taking her back to the mansion, and then Katniss goes and sees President Snow in the greenhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you a second one that's got the whole outfit, but is this also Alexander McQueen? Effie's outfits are just absolute light years ahead of everything else in this movie. And I, for one, would love a coffee table book of her looks. I would buy it. It's so great. Look at this thing. Do you see this color?
Yeah,
this is my color too. That's part of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a color.
It's so beautiful. I might use this as the image for this episode so that everybody can feast their eyes.
And then we have Snow making the announcement that everybody can come, to his mansion. And I remember a feeling of oh, he's using human shields.
Right.
That's what this is. That's what's going on here. And I don't know if I would have thought that if I hadn't read the books.
I agree. They have the sort of subtext, it feels like, of all the children are being admitted first. Mm-hmm. But in the book, when you get to the mansion, the place is surrounded by cages of children, penned in, basically. So, yeah, I don't really know why they didn't do that if they were willing to make him such a heartless villain in so many other ways, but choices were made.
Choices were indeed made. And then they have, I don't know, they just, I'm looking at the part where Tigress is cloaking their disguises as they go into the throng of people making their way towards the mansion. Mm-hmm. She just gave them some big overcoats.
Yeah.
With big hoods, like Assassin's Creed hoods. Mm-hmm. There's no scarf around their faces or anything like that. It's supposed to be really cold and snowy outside. So this is why they're able to be bundled up, to be covered and not be, conspicuous.
Also, they're meant to be done up in a bonkers way to fit in with the bonkers residents, which they don't do.
Yep.
My theory on this is that they didn't want to have a real serious moment of Prim's death with Katniss looking like a fucking clown. And I can understand that, but I feel like there was a way to do it that still would have worked. And if you can't think of it, then you're lacking profoundly in imagination and should not be making movies.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, that keeping her in these, like, because even the colors that the cloaks that they're in, people in the Capitol don't dress like this.
No.
These are like dark.
This is like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like small folk running from the mountain in some field somewhere while their barn burns in the background. Somebody's killing horses off to the right.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, kids. After the first one, which I wasn't impressed with, I liked the second and third one. I was really pretty excited to get to this third and final installment, and it just did not work for me. I was super bummed out about it too, because these books are so good, and they really just deserve much better than this.
That is it.
Yeah, man. It's always tough to do, take something from a book and put it on the screen. It's like impossible to please everybody. I get it. I get that there's timing concerns and not everything is going to work on screen, and, inner monologue can't be translated. I get it. I'm not saying it's easy, but also y'all are supposed to be professionals. Mm-hmm. I'm not supposed to be able to sit here and write the movie and tell you everything that you should have done that would be better. I'm not the fucking movie maker. I'm just some jackass on a podcast. This is your job.
This is the primary thing that I run into where I start to feel like contempt sometimes, because I can just be spitballing what I think is going to happen in a spoil me episode. And then what I get is so much more like trite and rote and tropey than the 6 theories that I had just off the top of my head in a previous recording. Like, I shouldn't be able to immediately brainstorm 5 better endings to an episode or twists or whatever. When it's your job to write this, I shouldn't be able to do that. And oh God, it's like, far from me feeling myself over it. It makes me angry because you're getting paid and you're making probably a lot for your ideas and stuff. And this is what you're bringing to the table. This is what you're like, it's just, there's just so much potential that's lost. And that's always very, very upsetting whenever it's like, but it was right there, guys. Why, and again, I know why. I know the reason, which makes it worse, because they're just trying to do lowest common denominator, appeal to everybody, not have any real teeth to anything. The answer to every question about things is cowardice. That's just it. And that always is going to be like the thing I have the most contempt for. It's part of why I hate like the last Star Wars movie. They made some of the most cowardly decisions I have ever seen on screen and in their script, and it is embarrassing.
I can't even remember which one was the last one.
Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, there it is. And it's back.
So bad. It's bad. I'm not going to talk about it, but suffice to say, they walked back anything interesting that happened in Last Jedi, undid it all. And there was like one character being horribly bullied online, and they basically removed all her lines and stuck in a new character and replaced her. Instead of standing up for her and making a stand on anything, they just took her out of the movie. And it just, all of this, I understand with blockbusters and stuff, how we want to keep mass appeal. But they, I think, really misjudge a lot what their audiences can handle. And that some of the things that are like the most popular and the most moving out there are because they took chances and took risks and trusted that their audience was going to get it. And I'm not trying to say the Hunger Games like movies weren't successful. They were clearly wildly successful in dollars. But in adaptation, it is not a success. And they should redo it and be better. In summation,
be better.
Again, but do it right this time. For God's sake.
Yeah, it just is a lot of missed opportunities. Yeah, man. They just really lost the plot in a pretty substantial way. And I don't know, just disappointing. What a womp womp kind of way to end it. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted so much more. And then again, with the rushing, we get the end epilogue end.
Where Katniss is speaking to her baby.
Yes. They completely removed all that shit about how long she waited to have children because she didn't really want to have them. They took all that shit out, which is probably, how we felt about that being included. So, but yeah, took it all out. I don't know. They her saying out loud to her baby, "There are much worse games to play," is the goofiest shit. As the last line of the book, it's okay. I didn't even love it as like a narrative thing in the book. Having it be actual dialogue that Katniss, of all people, says. Katniss doesn't speak in fucking metaphors. This is not the type of thing she does. This isn't her. And it's just like, it's wildly out of character. It's corny as hell. And it's trying to put like a fucking period at the end of a story where the point of the way it ended is that who knows if things are going to be okay. You got to do your best. Yep. And that we've had like X amount of years of relative peace, but we can't take it for granted. We don't know how long it'll last, yeah. Just, oh well. The books are really good though. Like, I want to come back and just say that one last time. I really had the best time reading them. They were so good. And, the movies were what they were. It's fine. The movies were a thing that were, oh my God, too. And I know this is really from the book, but when she gets blown up and we have the girl on fire, like being like lying there and she's like the girl on fire. Oh God, right. You know what? Here's one positive thing I will say, because it was something that I kind of had a little bit of an issue with in the book. Not enough to bother me that much, but in the Capitol, when the rebels are beginning to infiltrate and it is revealed that there are these things called pods, it really did for me kind of feel sometimes like you just wanted to include some more weird shit, didn't you, Suzanne? So you just decided that we were kind of going to do like a mini games. And it felt to me a lot like this is a ridiculous way to try and defend your city through this sort of thing. Like, just put bombs, just bomb them. But when we are with Snow, he talks about how he wants it all televised and how it's going to be this like celebration of suffering. And that isn't really explicitly said in the book, that they are being like, that their every move through the Capitol is being televised for entertainment to people in their homes currently. It always has felt like they were being recorded, and then if something happened, it would be edited into a news broadcast, not like it was being shown to everybody the way the games are shown to them. Right.
And I like the fact that Snow wants it this way, and that justifies the use of the pods, because he is trying to make an entertainment out of this. In the same way, when in the book, I don't feel like that's really what's going on. And it does sort of feel like we're just going to use some wacky defense stuff, because it's really going to be easier for our people to defend against if they're creatures than just like 17 bombs.
Right. That's a fair point. I hadn't really considered that, because it's a weird thing to think that as your city is being attacked and invaded, that people are going to be at home watching TV.
Yeah.
That's a you know what I mean, but I guess.
Yeah, it's real weird.
But
I want to acknowledge that, because like I said, the pods thing had me, especially on my first read, because you remember how I took it when she got thrown back into the arena, and I was just like, oh, we're going back to the well because you didn't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really wasn't getting what she was doing. I was sort of having that vibe with the pods in the third book. I was just kind of like, oh, wow, even when it's not the arena, it's the arena.
Yeah.
Okay, you know. So yeah, I don't know if like that was something that she was sort of trying to retcon, but I accept it.
I guess before we wrap, I'll just ask you, what did you think of this final meeting with him and Katniss when she goes out to the greenhouse and what did you, anything, did that work for you?
Her acting wasn't quite, it was difficult because like she's kind of meant to be frozen in shock, and that's a difficult thing to make interesting for as long as his monologue goes on. So it felt like a little flat because she is just meant to be silent and staring and unmoving almost. And so it didn't quite work for me. There's also like, after having him bomb a whole warehouse full of injured people explicitly to get at Katniss only, to then be like, I'm not wasteful, is really kind of funny. Like, come on. But also, I'm sure he says like, I'm not wasteful. When I kill, I do it for a very specific reason. So maybe he is thinking that wasn't wasteful. I was killing for a very specific reason.
Right.
And maybe that's how he'd argue it. I don't know. But it was a little bit of a, okay, that line doesn't really have the significance that it did, but sure.
Yeah, I felt like they have him coughing up copious amounts of blood in the scene, and he's looking like a little frail. He's defeated at this point. He's close to death, and it's giving like, oh, okay, you won, but I was already on my way out anyway. And his delivery of the information about the parachutes, and he's like, this one says something about not being wasteful, but I'm looking at her face, and then him being like, he's coughing so much throughout this whole thing. Like we haven't seen him have so much as a hiccup in 3 movies.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's on his fucking deathbed. Yeah, it is a weird. Again, it's like this. They did the same thing with his illness that they do with Coin, as being like a bad person. They're just like, we'll save that for the last movie. We won't hint anything at all.
Yep. And then and then they have him say, he says something like, using the children. Why would I do that? Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
But you were using the children. So it's not that far-fetched. It's not as far-fetched as you're making it sound like.
I mean, he does say, we both know I'm not above killing children, but when he isn't explicitly shown to be using human shields in the movie, then
yeah,
like I don't know. It just, everything conflicted with each other.
Yeah, but I've been watching you, and you watching me, he says to her.
I think we've both been played for fools.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't
been played for fools.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, a little bit of a a sad note. I will say the scene with Coin announcing that she wants to do the games again. Joanna, 100%. She gave her best Joanna, you know, but I expected that room to be a little bit more volatile.
Yeah.
Than it was. It was much more subdued than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
The goodbye with Gail also was.
He just stands up after after it's suggested, doesn't he? Like, I feel like Peter gets physical in the moment of just like the horror of this.
He doesn't. I mean, he says.
No, I meant in the book. Sorry.
Oh, right, in the book. Yeah. It gets like this is crazy. Like, I can't believe you're doing this, and people have to be told to like calm down, and this was just all very. Even when Peter is just like, no, this is crazy. It's the line is just delivered kind of like, are you sure you think it's crazy?
This is crazy, man. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't listen to all that, but I'm happy for it. I'm sorry that happened. God.
But, so I don't know, guys. It just, it was what it was. But, yeah, I really don't know how to wrap the episode. I don't know how to be like, I'm done talking about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is it. I'm trying to think if like there's anything to wrap it that I want to talk about, but really I'm going to have to come up with a breakdown for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And just, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you guys, but if you have an Apple Watch, you probably know that like sometimes when it's charging, it'll just light up out of nowhere, even though nothing has been jostled. And mine just lit up, and it says from my number of steps today that I have 6,969 steps, and it has made me so happy. I have to screenshot this right now. Gotta do it. Nice. Sorry, guys. The happiest that I have been on this episode is my step counter telling me 6,969. I am an adult.
Yes, allegedly.
There's an asterisk on that. All right, so I'm going to say hi to our new patron this week, who is Catherine Oppenheimer.
Hello.
Yay! Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate you so much. And I hope that you are enjoying everything you get for being a patron, because there's a lot of stuff. And if you have any questions, please email me. I am getting better about replying to people about stuff. I'm very proud of myself. But yeah, thank you, Catherine. And I want to let everybody know that in 2 weeks, Rashawn, by the time this episode drops, for patrons, it will be Tuesday the 21st. For everybody else, it'll be the 23rd. That following Saturday, the 25th, we are going to be doing a very special Unsober. That's not really an Unsober, where we get together on Zoom and do a virtual dance party. And it is going to be only the Beyonce Renaissance album that we listen to from beginning to end, because I have been really wanting Miles to listen to it. And he has been having trouble getting the time off, and he was finally able to get the 25th off. And I felt like Rashawn needed a boost that would be, seeing everybody taking joy in the music that she loves as well. And that it could just be something that we could all do together. So if you go to patreon.com/unspoiled and you follow me even as a free patron, I think I posted it so that anybody who's following can see it, but I don't think it's public. I posted the link to the Zoom event. I will repost it beforehand, definitely. But you can put it into your calendar to be reminded about it. It'll be at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm really looking forward to just like Rashawn, I may get you one of those light bulbs that has the disco lights in it to put into your lamp behind you. We also have the ring lamps on our computers, and I think there's a setting where it just cycles through different colors.
Yeah,
So,
I never did find my remote, so that's out for me.
That sucks.
You know what? I was thinking about ordering a new one. Maybe I'll order a new LED.
Yeah.
And I get it delivered before the 25th. Even though I should be conserving my money, but I could probably find one for pretty cheap. I think
mine was only like $10.
Oh yeah, I can find one. I want a really nice ring light, but that'll have to be something in the future. I'm gonna just get another little cheapy John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make sure I'll do that. The 25th, right?
Yes.
Okie dokie. I guess we can talk about that off air.
What?
Zoom has like this weird thing where you can only get like 30 minutes at a time.
I signed up for Pro just for this one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that allows me to go for, I think it's 10 hours.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I'm allowed to have something like up to 500 people or some amount that's like nowhere near necessary. Who knows? Maybe it'll go viral and we'll have hundreds of people showing up.
We don't want that. I mean, we do want it, but we don't want it. I don't want it.
I probably won't wear my dress. I'll definitely wear my hat. And I'll definitely have my ceiling lights, you guys. I replaced every bulb with those spinning dance disco lights. So it's actually a couple times I've forgotten I did that and I really needed light and I flipped the switch and it was just like party time. And I was like, oh, God damn it, Natasha, why can't you just be normal? But then times like this come up and I'm like, I'm so glad I have those in place already. I don't even have to do anything or remember. And my hat will probably have to come off because dancing in that is going to be, it'll be a challenge. So I'll have to come up with some other means for showing my, I keep wanting to say something like school spirit, but for Beyonce's aesthetic. I don't really know how to phrase that, but y'all get what I'm saying. She asked everybody when she was touring to wear silver. And that is why I still have a bunch of silver stuff from the concert, but none of it's like easy to wear.
Yeah, no, it is not. No, it is not. Oh boy. I guess I got to step my game up and find my fan at least.
That's a good idea.
Pull my fan out.
Okay, yeah.
Pull my fan out. Maybe my sunglasses. And I might wear one of my crowns that you got me. And that might be my look.
You really, I'm just going to fucking copy. That's what I'm doing. Same. I have sunglasses that I forgot to bring with me, but those will work. I'll do that. Although I have real glasses that I need.
Yeah, I got to make sure I have contacts left. Do I have? Yeah. I don't even know if I have any contacts left now that I got my glasses. I don't wear them anymore. All right, I got some homework. I have a homework assignment for this event.
Yay. All right. Thank you guys again so much for listening. We really appreciate you. Hope we didn't get you too down with how much we trashed this, but it deserved it, and I'm not sorry. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Are you coming to the tree where dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.